So how were you two approached for Immaculate?
Well, Sydney approached me with Immaculate. She's been working on this for 10
10
years.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. So you would
Yeah.
Sydney auditioned for the project back in 2015,
20,
something like
yeah,
that.
2014-ish.
And the project ended up not getting made. And then you just stayed in touch with
The writer, and I just like I went searching for it and wanted to track it down, and then decided I'm gonna make this myself and put the whole team together.
Hi, I'm Shannon. Love the movie. So my first question actually is for you, Michael. What was your experience like venturing into the horror genre? And did you encounter any unique challenges that you hadn't experienced prior in your other films?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I love about horror and what attracted me to it anyways is, I mean, I love horror movies. I go see them. I see every major horror release on opening night. I love that it's such a communal experience. I also love that the horror community is actually so much more loving than other subgenre communities. I think it's because we all have the same fucked up sense of humor. And so when Sydney approached me for this, I just, like this is her baby. I wanted to knock it out of the park, but also because we were making it independently, we wanted to push the envelope. We wanted to push it far. The biggest challenge was technique. This horror you can't shoot a horror like any other genre. You have to be really mindful of how you're building the tension and how you're releasing the tension. And being able to play with that visual language was something that was it was so fun, but it was also so challenging.
Very cool. And of course, I love hearing that you're a horror fan. I was going to ask that, I mean, this is along the lines of religious horror, which is kind of its own subgenre within the genre. And for each of you, respectively, what are some of the genre films that influenced you either in inspiration that you kind of wanted to lean into, or maybe even tropes that you wanted to try to avoid?
I grew up loving horror films, so I always felt like one of our biggest inspirations, and also Mike's, like you actually in your deck that you put together had multiple references from Rosemary's Baby as like visual references, and it's just one of my utmost iconic, just incredible films out there. I also love Carrie. I always wanted to have my Carrie moment, hence my Carrie moment. And I felt like just my love of the genre really just poured in to this film. I was so excited.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I so many horror films, but because we were shooting in Rome, I needed to pay homage to the horror auteurs that came before me. And so Touchstone for me was a film called What Have You Done to Solange? Because it's a film about a young woman who's taking on the patriarchy. And there's a very specific scene where there are these men that are interrogating her, and we had a similar scene here. And if you watch those two scenes, you'll see how sort of I didn't take I didn't take the visual aesthetic of it, but I stole the blocking from that scene. Additionally, there's a film called The Red Queen Kills Seven Times, and I love the score so much to that film that we actually used one of the cues in the movie here as a direct homage when she's like learning her way around the convent. It's fully a Bruno Nicolai track that we put in the film. That's for like the deep cut horror nerds.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you.
And this is for both of you. This genre is really tough to accomplish. Like you said, it's kind of challenging than other genres. But there's also that moment of, oh, hell yeah, when you read the script, like, how are we going to pull this scene off? What moment was that from both of you?
Ooh, how are we going to pull this scene off? I think what's interesting is that we had such a great team of artists helping us. Like the crews in Rome.
They're so like they're amazing. Like there was never a moment where like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do this? We need to change this so we can achieve it. Like we had a really good group of problem solvers.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing was like keeping track of the continuity of the blood. Because we didn't really have time to map out like, oh, in this scene she'll get blood here and here, and this later scene now she's dirty from this other thing. And I think that's something that I know I'm going to pay attention to more moving forward. I think the other challenge is just time. you know, she had to leave to go shoot Anyone But You by a specific date. And so, for instance, the scene in the catacombs where she's running around, that scene, that was shot in a real catacombs, like that's a real place. There were real, like the remains of real dead bodies around us the whole time we were there. We only had 7.5 hours to shoot it. And every hour and a half we had to resurface because there wasn't enough oxygen down there. So we'd have to like take a break, go to the surface, breathe, and then go back down and continue shooting.
And it was a long walk to get from the outside to where we needed to start filming.
Yeah, the scariest part of the catacombs was in the belly of the catacombs, so we naturally had to go all the way down there.
Yeah.
All right, so this question's for Sydney. I know that you had, went back to 2014. You originally had, auditioned for it, didn't work out. Then you came back to it as a producer to get the film made. What was it about the script that resonated with you so deeply that you remained absolutely committed to this project?
There were multiple elements. One, I loved Cecilia's character as an actor. She pushes me to go to such deep places that like she's not aware that she's capable of going, and as an actor, like you learn to unlock new layers of yourself, and whenever you have a character that challenges you in new ways, like that's really exciting for me. And I also loved just Andrew's story in itself. I loved the idea that, oh my gosh, are there people out there trying to actually make this happen? Like that was a thought that crossed my mind, and it terrified me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
And with this is for both of you, but with obviously such a huge fan base, following your work right now, Sydney, and all of your projects, I'm curious for each of you, what are your hopes that audiences and viewers are going to take away from Sister Cecilia's journey in this film?
For me, it's like the challenge with this film is, we wanted it to appeal to both mainstream audiences and also the black shirt, diehard, horror crowds. And so it's a mixture of, yes, we have traditional jump scares. And I know that some of you don't like that, but you know what? Kids in suburbia fucking love it. We have the gore, but the gore isn't to show off. It's to, if someone falls off of a 4-story building and lands on their face on some cobblestones, when you turn over their head, yeah, you're going to see their skull peeking out. And then the third thing is just that overarching sense of dread. But it culminates, I feel like the audience is like a frog in a pot of boiling water, in that the movie sort of starts out and you feel like you're watching a traditional horror movie, but then it gets more disturbing, then it gets even more disturbing, and then it gets even more disturbing, and to the end where you just can't handle the tension until that final cut to black. And so for me, I wanted to escape the label of elevated horror by making something that was crowd pleasing too, and delivered in a package that's only 88 minutes.
Good job, Meg.
Yeah.
I love it when he goes on tangents.
We had the same goal.
No, it was definitely like the entire time it was, we need to make something that is commercial, but also like we both love cinematic films. We both love beautiful shots. We wanted to have a film that really captured who we were as creatives and filmmakers, but then also appealing to a bigger audience.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, job well done. I think you guys achieved it.
Thank you.
And how do you guys feel about this also going to theaters as well as playing at South by Southwest?
We're just over the moon excited. I think that a horror film, especially like this, to be able to experience that with other people, to be able to just feel the energy in the room, and especially when we were at South by, feeling that audience and the reaction and how lively and loud they were, like that was everything for us. Yeah,
there's nothing better. There's no other experience in the world like watching a horror film with 1,300 other people, and something. This has been the most fun journey out of any project I've been involved in, because when you're at the screening and you hear someone in the back like screaming, And then you hear their friend next to them making fun of them for screaming, and knowing that we were the puppet masters that made that happen is just, it's a fucking joy, you know?
My favorite is when we're in these screenings, hearing Mike laugh at people who just screamed or when they jump at something.
I'm just so excited. I've never done this before. I've never had a film go to theaters. So it's like, it's doubly exciting because this has like been my fucking dream ever since I was a kid. When I was 5 years old, I saw Back to the Future. I wanted to be a part of whatever that was. And finally here, it's not a, you know, I love the streaming movies that I've made, but this is 10 times cooler. The fact that, you know, people will gather to see this. So yeah, it's awesome.
So I have to talk about the ending. So, you know, it's super fucking powerful. That ending is probably one of the best endings I've seen in horror in recent times. And people seem to either love it or hate it. That pushes it away. What do you think it is about the ending that is embracing to some people while also pushing others away?
I think that's why we wanted to make it. We wanted to make something that was going to be divisive. We wanted to make something that was an impactful final moment.
I think part of the fun of horror movies is debating whether, you know, debating the merits of it. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the experience. And so to me, it's not about whether you love it or hate it. It's about whether or not you had a good time and whether or not it made you think and whether or not you feel passionate to talk about it when it's over, you know? And so I think no matter whether you like this movie, it's undeniable. Her performance is fucking incredible. And so like, no matter what.
Also, the people who didn't like it, they're still talking about it. So it kind of still worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
I laughed through the whole ending. I was like, this is incredible. Like I just sat there and laughed.
I know,
and I
love the uncomfortable laughter.
That's me. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was great. You know, beautifully shot, and yeah, Sydney, your performance, you just killed it. I did want to ask though. You guys have worked together, obviously, and obviously have good working relationship, good chemistry, like working together. What was your favorite memory from the set of making Immaculate?
Favorite memory. I mean, I'll always look back, you know, it was hard. We didn't have a whole lot of time, but I think my favorite, and I think my favorite memories are just like the times that we were like cooped up in a hotel room trying to figure out how to make it as good as possible given the resources that we had, you know? And so
there were a lot of sleepless nights.
We were
just in my living room,
just trying, like
script pages everywhere, working on everything.
Because you learn about the different, you know, as you're making a movie, you're learning what it wants to be. And you're learning what your crew is able to do. You're learning what your actors are able to do. You're learning about the character. You're learning about your schedule and how much you can fit into that schedule. And I think that figuring out that puzzle and knowing that no matter how tired or cranky we might be during the process, we all had that North Star of we knew the impact that we wanted this film to have. And so I'm just going to look back on the experiences like we fucking gave this everything we had. Like there was nothing left on the table. You know, we poured every ounce of energy into it. And no matter what people think, I'm always going to be proud of that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you guys are ready to see Sister Cecilia costumes this Halloween season. Because I think, especially maybe that final scene look, I think
I mean,
we're going to see a lot of that.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
That's up there with Ready or Not, for sure.
Awesome.
Totally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.